Hello everyone and welcome to another English lesson here with me, Anna English, on English Like a Native. Today's English lesson is all about family. So I'm going to be covering the traditional English, British English family. I'm going to talk about some of the things that we do here in the UK regarding family, and we are going to be looking at vocabulary, pronunciation, and then we'll end with a handful of idioms that you may use when talking about family. Just to let you know, I'm broadcasting live right now from London and it's boiling hot. So if I seem to lose concentration, it's because I'm very hot. We don't have air conditioning here in the UK, so when it's hot, we just have to deal with it. So hello everyone, thank you for joining me. If you are here and you are interested in learning English and you haven't yet pressed that subscribe button, then you're in the right place. I'm going to help you, but hit the subscribe button and the bell notification button so you don't miss any future lessons. And I'm going to just say a very quick hello to my patrons who are here in the special patron-only Skype room. Hello, Haja. Hello from Brazil. You're on my TV. Fantastic. I'll watch you, but I can't stay here. I don't have my laptop. Okay, thanks for dropping in, though. Okay, so as always, I've made some notes. I've made about 4 pages worth of notes today. And anyone who wants to donate towards the growth of this channel with a super chat, your comment will stand out, you will get a response, and as a thank you, you will receive the notes that I've made today. So let's get started. Family. The word family technically means the descendants of a common ancestor. So if I have lots of children and my children have children and those children have children, then they are technically my family because they are my descendants. Hello Yuya, hi, nice of you to join us. So that's technically what a family is. Now when we talk about our family, we're normally talking about the people closest to us within our blood connection group. And so we're talking about mum, dad, and maybe our children. But in lots of ways, we talk about family as being a group of people that we care about as well. So, for example, I have a WhatsApp group. My WhatsApp group is only small, very small amount of people there. And because we talk to each other every day and we're this little close-knit group, then we consider ourselves to be a little family of sorts. So a family can also be used just to refer to a group of people who kind of look out for each other, care for each other, and stick together like a family is supposed to do. There are other ways to talk about family. We could talk about our relatives. Our relatives. And relatives are people connected by blood or marriage. People connected by blood or marriage. In the same way that you can say relations. My relations. So you can say my relatives or my relations. Both of them mean exactly the same things. People connected by blood or marriage. So, I have a family, I have relations, and I have relatives. Which word would you feel more comfortable using? I tend to talk about my family. I sometimes say my relatives. But I rarely say relations. My relations are coming to stay. I'm going to see my relations. I wouldn't say that. It doesn't feel natural for me. I would tend to say family and relatives. Which word do you feel most comfortable with? All right. So when talking about a family, sometimes people put together what's called a family tree. A family tree. A family tree is kind of like a map. It's a map of your family. It's a map of the heritage of your relatives and how they are connected. And if you haven't heard of a family tree before, I thought I'd give you an example here. So this is a family tree of Sir Edward Elgar. These are the people that we're looking at. It's William is the person. Sorry, no, here, William, Edward Elgar, and he's directly connected to his parents here, William Elgar and Anne Greening. So this family tree, the higher up it goes, the older it is. So these are Edward's parents. These are Edward's mother's family, her siblings and her parents. And these are Edward's father's relations, his siblings and his parents. So these are Edward's grandparents up here. And Edward is one of many children. 1, 2, 3. Oh no, sorry, that's his wife. Is that his wife there? Is that his wife? That's confusing. Yes, that must be his wife. So Edward is one of 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, this is a confusing family tree. Family trees are confusing. I haven't made one myself, but you can see what a family tree is. A family tree is a map, a way of writing down exactly who's connected and how you're related to each other. I mean, I would hate to do my own family tree because my family is so complicated. I think my family tree would just baffle anybody looking at it, just like that one's just baffled me. So now you know what a family tree is. Let's move on. So when people talk about family in general, they would normally be referring to your immediate family. Your immediate family are the people closest to you in your family, usually the people who live with you. All right? And so the family members within your immediate family would be your parents. So your parents refer to your mother and your father. Your mother is your parent. Your father is your parent. And collectively, they are your parents. There are a number of words for mother. Obviously, mother is your female parent. And so you can call your mother mother. It's very formal. It's the technical word, mother. We tend to say mum more often in the UK, and notice that we spell it differently to Americans. Americans spell it mom, and that's the American English version, is mom. But we say mum, mum with a U. And young children, or some older people do call their mother mummy, but this tends to be what young people do. So little toddlers, 4 or 5 years old, will be mummy, mummy. So mummy is really for young people. Although, like I said, some older people do refer to their mum as mummy. Tell me, in your language, do you have different words, different names for mother? Like we have the formal mother, we have the common mum, and then we have the very young mummy. Do you have the same sort of thing in your language? Oh, bless you. Strongwit has just sent over a €5 donation. Thank you so much. That's very, very kind of you. Of course, please just drop me a message to remind me to send you the notes, or you can choose the notes from any previous lesson if you would like those instead, and I'll send those to you as a thank you. Thank you very much. So do let me know, do you have different words to describe your mum or to call your mum in your language? I'd love to know. Let's have a look at how we talk about father. So father, again, is the technical formal way of talking about your male parent. Now notice in both mother and father, we have a TH in the middle. That means for British mother, father, father, and American, I just had to check, and American pronunciation, you should put your tongue between your teeth, like that. Mother, father, mother, father. And it's a schwa at the end, which means we just do rather than It's a non-rhetoric R. We don't sound the R at the end at all. So it's mother, father, mother and father. Okay? So we have father. How else can we call the male parent? Commonly we say dad. Dad. My mum and dad. That's what I say. That's what most people say. My dad. Or, as before with mummy, young people might say daddy. Daddy. So there we go, the parents. Now you might hear the word siblings. Siblings. So siblings refer to a brother or and sister. So I might say to you, do you have any siblings? That's just one way of saying, do you have any brothers or sisters? Or do you have both? You could say, yes, I have one sibling. yes, I have 2 siblings, or whatever the amount is. And then you would go on to say, I have 1 sister, 1 brother, or no, I only have 1 brother. So I have 1 sibling, 1 brother. So tell me in the comments, how many siblings do you have? Tell me how many siblings do you have? And then I want you to also tell me how many brothers and sisters that includes. So technically, I have 10 siblings. I had to think about that. I have 10 siblings, which includes 1, 2, 3 sisters and 7 brothers. There you go. So you tell me about your setup, your family setup. So just in case you are confused, a brother is a male child born to your parents. And notice again, that's a TH, so we have brother, brother, just like mother and father. But then for the female child, also born to your parents, we say sister, sister. So moving on, looking back, we have grandparents, grandparents. Now notice I don't really pronounce the D, grandparents. You can, if you want to be very precise, grandparents, but most people just say grandparents. Grandparents, it's easier to say. Grandparents. I'm visiting my grandparents. Your grandparents are your parents' parents. So the older people within the family. So grandparents. So the female grandparent would be referred to as your grandmother. Most commonly we say grandma. And again, we don't really pronounce the D. Grandma, grandma is what you'll hear. Grandma is a little bit too precise. So we just say grandma, grandma. Or some people shorten it to gran. Some people say nana. Some people say nan. So again, like with mother and father, do you have, in your language, do you have different ways of saying grandmother? And what do you call yours? I call mine grandma, grandma. Hi, grandma. And normally with our grandparents, you might add a name onto it because obviously you have the grandparents from your father's side and you have the grandparents from your mother's side. So I might call, so for example, my grandma on my mum's side is called Gillian. So I call her Grandma Jill. This is her first name, and so I call her Grandma Jill. However, on my father's side, my father's mother is called Irene, but she doesn't like to be called that. So I call her by her surname. So I call her Grandma M. I'm not going to give you the full name because I don't want to give you a full name, just in case. She might not like to have her name said on the internet, but I call her Grandma M, which is her surname, or the initial to her surname. And she prefers that. So most grandparents will have a preference as to what they want to be called. So let's have a look at the male grandparent. The male grandparent is the grandfather. Again, be mindful of that TH, the grandfather. Most people will call him granddad. Granddad, again, being careful not to overly pronounce that D in the middle. Just granddad is fine. Granddad, granddad. Some people call him Gramps. Gramps. So that's our grandparents. Unfortunately, I lost one of my grandparents a few years ago, just before Christmas, which was very sad. But you know, these things happen, and he did have a wonderful impact on my life. But every Christmas, it's quite sad to go and see Grandma and not to see Granddad. Just an empty chair. Okay, so some of you here saying you're here for the first time. If you are here for the first time, welcome. I hope you find this helpful. And let me just have a quick look at what my patrons are saying. Hello, Anna. I have one sibling, my brother Raphael. Fabulous, perfectly written, well done. Good, okay, so going back to the notes, let's now talk about if you are a parent and you have children. So if you are a parent and you have children, you may call them AKA. This means also known as. We covered this in the text language lesson last week, AKA. So children can also be called kids or offspring, although offspring is quite uncommon. We don't use it very often, so I wouldn't really use that, but just know what it's for. Oh wow, Diego, bless you. Thank you. Diego, thank you for your super chat. That message is support the teacher. Thank you so much. If you don't know, super chat donations all go into one big pot, and once I reach a certain milestone with those donations, I put it towards buying something for the channel. So all super chats go towards the benefit of everybody. So for example, at the moment I'm saving up all the super chats to go towards a new microphone so that you can have better sound quality on my pre-recorded videos and hopefully on these videos as well. There are lots of milestones in place. I'm just ordering super Wi-Fi, super internet. I'm getting fibre optic broadband fitted, and the super chats that people have previously donated have paid for the technicians to come and fit that into my new property. And so in a few weeks' time, all of you will benefit from much better uninterrupted streams and more uploads of videos because I'll be able to upload them faster. So thank you guys for your support. So let's get back to our children. So we can call them kids or children. Kids, a kid is actually technically what you call a young goat, a kid. But here in the UK, this has become very common, just a very common term to refer to your children. My kids, my kid. They are the humans that you give birth to. Obviously, the male child is called your son, and the pronunciation of that is similar to the sun in the sky. Sa, not son. We don't want son, we have sun. My son was born under the sun. Exactly the same pronunciation. Then if you have a female child, this would be your daughter. Your daughter. A slightly odd spelling, but the pronunciation is like the door that we open and close, or we knock at the door. Knock, knock, knock. Daughter. It's as simple as that. Daughter. Daughter. So tell me, are you a parent? If you are a parent, then tell me how many kids you have or how many children you have. Do you have sons or do you have daughters? I unfortunately am not a parent. I would like to be, but I'm not. Hopefully one day I'll keep my fingers crossed. But I would love to have one son and one daughter. That would be a blessing. Okay, so one of you questioning granddad, the spelling of granddad. Always do question me, guys. If you're not sure and you think I've made a mistake, then feel free to question me because I am dyslexic and sometimes I make mistakes, as most natives do, and that's absolutely fine. So if you're not sure, then do question, and I will always double check to make sure I haven't made a mistake. Okay, so this is something that's regularly searched. British English spelling is how I've spelt it, with one D, grand, and then D at the end, granddad. It's more popular than double D, which is the American English spelling. Okay, so there we go. There are two versions of this word, so that's why it's confusing. Double D apparently is American spelling and single D is a British spelling. Okay. All right, thank you for bringing that up. It's always good to learn new things. So, if you have had your children and your children have children, you then become a grandparent and you have grandchildren. You can also, as before, use the word kids instead of children and say, I have grandkids. So you can say, oh, I'm getting a visit from the grandkids today. I mean, most grandparents these days actually aren't very old. So that was a very bad impression that I just did of an old grandparent. So obviously if your grandchildren are boys, then they will be grandsons. You'll have a grandson. And if your grandchildren are girls, then you have granddaughters. Let me just write that. Your child's son or your child's daughter. Oh, it's hot here in the UK. What is the weather like where you are? Because we have just got blinding, scorching hot sunshine today. I haven't even stepped outside. It's so warm. And yes, very difficult to concentrate. So we're moving on now to extended family or other family members. Now, if people talk about your extended family, they're talking about your family outside of your immediate family. Your immediate family, your mum, your dad, maybe your husband, your wife, your children. People who are immediately probably living in your house. Of course, it's different in every culture. In the UK, mostly in one household, you'll have a small family which will include a husband and wife and a couple of children. That's the average, although things are changing drastically at the moment across the UK. But normally a typical British English family would be mother, father, and the children. Maybe if they have an elderly parent, maybe a grandparent would live then with them. So you might have mother and father, a grandparent, and the children. But more often, the older generations, the grandparents are put into specialist old people's homes where they can have proper care and be looked after. I know in different cultures it's different, so tell me who lives with you? Who lives in your household? What makes up your immediate family? Tell me. I'm being nosy. Okay, so when we're talking about anyone outside of that, but they're still related to you, we're talking about your extended family. But extended also means people who are not blood related to you, so people who have come into the family. So they weren't part of your family via blood, but they married into your family. Okay, so we can talk about an auntie, which is also sometimes referred to as an aunt. Auntie, aunt, and this is the sister of your parent. So your mum or your dad, if your mum or your dad has a sister, they are your auntie or aunt. Now look at the pronunciation. Wide open vowel. Auntie, auntie, auntie. And like with grandma and granddad, we tend to put a name afterwards because you might have a number of aunties. So for example, I am an auntie. I obviously have many brothers and sisters, and they have also in turn had many children. So I am Auntie Anna, and my brother and sister's children call me Auntie Anna. Yay, Auntie Anna's here. So I'm Auntie Anna. And then if your parents have a brother, if one of your parents has a brother, then this would be your uncle. And again, you would probably put a name after it so that you can decipher which uncle you are referring to. So I have an Uncle Nigel and I have an Uncle Andrew. And that's it. I just have 2 uncles. And I have no aunties. That's sad, isn't it? I have no aunties. I just have 2 uncles. Well, never mind. So then we might also talk about our nephews and our niece. A nephew. This PH is an F sound. Nephew. 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 So your nephew is the male child of your sibling. So if your brother has a son, that son is your nephew. If your sister has a son, that son is your nephew. If your brother has a daughter, then that daughter is your niece. Okay, so the nephew is the boy and the niece is the girl. So niece, be careful of that pronunciation as well. Like nice, but with E instead. Niece. I need a niece. Okay, it's very nice. So I have many nephews and I have many nieces. Do you have any nephews or nieces? Emin, I'm watching you from 2 accounts to hit the like twice. Oh, bless you, Emin. That's so sweet. Oh, guys, I really do appreciate the amazing amount of support. And wow, I missed a super chat that came through from Ella. Thank you so much. You guys are so amazing. I really can't express how grateful I am that you're helping me to build this community. Thank you so much. Of course, as always, please just give me a nudge if you want the notes. I'm happy to send them to you. And yes, thank you for all your support. Let's see how many thumbs we do have at this point. How much are we enjoying this family lesson? 83 thumbs. Okay, so if you are here and you are finding this helpful, then please just hit that thumb button, just the once. It will help this community to grow. And that's all you have to do. Alrighty, let's get back to the lesson. So, nieces and nephews. We also have cousins. Cousins. And now the word cousin refers to male and female. So you can just use cousin whether it's male or female. A strange spelling again, but we just say cousin, cousin, cousin. I have a cousin, cousin. Okay, so it's very short vowel sound. Cousin, cousin. And it's a schwa. Rather than cousin, like it's spelt, we say schwa. Cousin, cousin, cousin. I don't often say, if I meet with my family, I would say, hello, Auntie. Hello, Uncle Nigel. Hello, Grandma Jill. Hello, Grandad Neil. Hi, Mum. Hi, Dad. But I wouldn't say, hello, cousin. I wouldn't greet my cousin with the name cousin, the title cousin. That seems odd. I would just greet them with their name. I'd say, hi, Brian, how are you? Okay, so with cousins, we tend not to greet them and call them cousin. And another super chat. Guys, you guys are too good to me. Thank you. Eureka, Lily, bless you. And I love that little hamster or guinea pig picture that you've got. Thank you so much for your support. Okay, so tell me, do you have any nieces or nephews? And do you have any cousins? And when was the last time you saw your cousin? I have a cousin who lives in Canada, so I haven't seen my cousin for a very long time, but we're friends on Facebook. Okay. So, moving down. Now, when we move past the conventional family, you know, your blood relations, we have the additional family members who are not blood related, okay? And there are different ways to talk about these. Now, firstly, we have a half-brother or a half-sister. Now, a half-brother or a half-sister is a sibling born to only one of your parents. So, for example, if my mum and dad have me, I am born, and then my mum and dad separate. This is my mum and dad. I'm not going to say which one's which because one is a poo and one is love. So my mum and dad separate, they fall out, and one gets married to somebody else and has another baby. That baby will be related to me because it has the same parent, but it doesn't have both of my parents. So it has one half of my genes. So that child, that sister or brother, is my half sister or my half brother because it's related by one parent. Okay, is that clear? I think that's clear. So that's a half brother or a half sister. It's different to a step brother or a step sister, or a stepmother or a stepfather. Now, the word step before these relations mean that it's a marriage connection. So, I'm the daughter of Pooh. You are the daughter of Love. And these two parents come together and get married. We are not blood related. But because our parents are married, we are now part of the same family. And that means that I am your stepsister. And you are my stepsister or brother. And this other person, this person that married my father, is my stepmother. And this is your stepfather. Okay, does that make sense? So step before a family member means it's a connection that's created through marriage, through love. Half is when it's a brother or sister that has the same parent relation, but only one of the parents. Okay, if you have any questions, guys, I am going to do questions at the end. I just want to get as much content out now so it doesn't waste anybody's time, and then anybody who needs to go can go, but anyone who's got time to stay and has questions, then please do hold them to the end. And I just saw one question, which is from Eureka Lily. Just so you know, you can be notified about live lessons if you hit the notification bell. So if you missed the fact that I was live, you need to hit that notification bell. Okay? The other thing you can do is make sure you're following me on Facebook and Instagram. On Facebook and Instagram, I tend to put out some form of notification to let you know that I'm going live. I don't know if I had time to do it on Instagram today, I can't remember, but I always do it on Facebook, always. So join me on Facebook and Instagram and you probably will be more likely to catch these live lessons. Let's carry on. So, sometimes we have more complicated family members. So we might have a situation where you have a foster parent. A foster parent is a caregiver who cares for a child that is no longer cared for by its biological parents. This is a short-term care placement. The child is referred to as the foster child. So let's say that my parents are, let's say unfortunately my parents both die and I am left alone and I'm only 12 years old. I then need to be cared for by somebody, and in some cases I can't be looked after by anybody in my family. So I will then go into foster care. So foster care is short-term care. Somebody will look after me on a short-term basis until a better long-term situation can be sorted out. Okay, so foster care, foster parents and foster kids are all part of a short-term care arrangement. Okay, then when we're talking more long-term, for someone who doesn't have parents that can look after them, they go into an adoptive situation. So they have adoptive parents, although sometimes you might hear the word adopted parents, but technically we should be using adoptive parents. So an adoptive parent is a person who adopts a child. You adopt a child and bring it up as your own. So someone who adopts a child and brings it up as their own, this child is referred to as an adopted child. So are you an adopted child? Have you been adopted? I know a couple of people who've been adopted, and adoption is actually a wonderful thing. I would adopt potentially in the future if my circumstances allow. Giving a child a home where it doesn't have one, I think is a wonderful thing. So do you adopt? Are you adopted? If you want to share, we'd love to know. So foster parents, short-term solution. Adoptive parents, long-term solution. Once you've been adopted, you stay in that relationship with that family long-term. Now, in a lot of cases in the UK, when a child is adopted, those parents like to try and integrate them into a very normal family situation as soon as possible. And so they won't refer to their child as their adoptive child. They will just say, this is my child, I am its mother. And they'll try and make it all very normal. So in a lot of cases in the UK, you might not realise that a family is not a blood-related family, that they're actually an adopted family situation. So that's how we do it here in the UK. We tend to just keep it to ourselves, keep it private, because there's no real reason for people to know. People don't need to know if you're adopted or not. So we tend to keep that to ourselves. And if you think that someone's adopted, it depends how well you know them. I wouldn't ask them. I think it's something they should just surrender that. They should just surrender that information voluntarily. They should volunteer that information to you. You shouldn't ever really ask them, because some people might not want everyone to know. Okay, let's get back to these notes. So another type of parent you might have is a godfather or a godmother. And this is a person who is present, who presents a child at a baptism and promises to take responsibility for their religious education. So this is a religious thing. As far as I know, it's to do with Catholics, Christians, children who are baptized in a church. They will have to have a godparent, a godmother or a godfather, or two godmothers perhaps, and someone who is supposed to take care of their religious education. Let me know if this is a similar sort of thing in other religions. I'm not an expert on religion. I think in the UK, typically godmothers and godfathers are just really a ceremonial title. I don't think there are many people in the UK who take on the role and then make sure that they are the educators of that child's religious upbringing. I know a lot of people who are godparents who aren't very religious, and so they don't get involved in that respect. They go and visit the children often, and they make sure they're a part of the child's life, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so let's have a look at what else we've got on these notes. I think now we're moving down to idioms. Yay, idioms. Okay, so we've probably got about another 5 minutes on this lesson, guys, and then I'll open up to your comments and questions, okay? So 5 more minutes, and then we'll be there. So, like mother, like daughter is the first idiom. Like mother, like daughter. You'll hear this a lot, and this is when a child is very similar to her mother. It might be similar behavior, similar traits, similar appearance. Maybe they look the same and you go, oh, like mother, like daughter. You guys are so similar, like mother, like daughter. And exactly the same way we would say like father, like son. Like father, like son, if the male child is very similar to his father. So like father, like son, when they act or when they look the same as one another. Like father, like son. Now, this is a fun one. A face that only a mother could love. We use this phrase to describe an unattractive face loved only by the mother who has unconditional love. So it's not very pleasant, but if someone is very unattractive in the face, if someone has an unattractive face, like someone has a face like that, and you'll say, oh, that's a face that only a mother could love. That means only a mother, only your mum would love your face because it's so unattractive. So a face that only a mother could love. I thought that one was a bit fun. It is a bit mean, but it's a bit funny. Okay, so a phrase used often with needy parents, parents who are overprotective of their children, we would say, you need to cut the apron strings. You need to cut the apron strings. And cutting the apron strings is the act of a parent allowing their children to be independent. Now, I'm sure you all know those overprotective parents, those parents who, even when their child is 36 years old, they're still cooking their meals, phoning them to make sure they got home okay. They are being a parent all the time. They can't let go. But at some point, a parent has to allow their child to be independent, to move out, to do things by themselves, and to solve their own problems. And doing that is called cutting the apron strings. You need to cut the apron strings. Okay? I'm sure I will probably be an overprotective mother if I ever have children. Anna looks like Anna isn't a member of my family, but she looks like my mum when she was younger and is also called Anna. Oh, wow. That's really cool. Okay. All right, let's have a look at some other idioms. We've got the children will fly the nest, or the children will fly the coop. I most often hear nest, but I do sometimes hear coop, and this just means when the children do become independent and they leave home. So if I'm a mother and I have 2 children at the age of 15 and 17, I might say to you, well, soon my children will be flying the nest. And so I have to think about me and what I'm going to do once they're gone. So flying the nest is when the children are going to leave home and become independent. In the UK, it used to be that children, once they were between 16 and 18, would move out of their parents' homes. But these days, in the UK, it's so expensive to live on your own. It's so expensive to buy a house that many people live with their parents into their 20s and 30s. And actually, recently, a lot of adults who have moved out of their parents' house, spent a few years living on their own, are now moving back to their parents' house because they can't afford to live by themselves. And I'm sure if I lived anywhere near my mum, I'm sure I'd be living with my mum now too. But my mum lives in Wales. It's a long way away. So, to fly the nest. Then you hear the phrase, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You might remember this from my fruit-based idioms video, which was quite a long time ago now, but this means that a child is very similar to their parent or parents. So, for example, if you met me for the first time and you know my mother very well and you think my mother is beautiful, and you meet me for the first time and you think I'm beautiful, you'll say, wow, the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree, does it? But you can also mean it in a negative way if a person is very unpleasant, a very unpleasant person, and then you meet their child, and their child is also very unpleasant, you might go, well, the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree, does it? Okay? So it can be a pleasant or an unpleasant thing. It depends on how you mean it. Okay? Okay, just be careful in the comments box. If any of you are being unpleasant, then your comments will be removed, and if you're being very unpleasant, then you will be blocked completely from this channel. So if you do appreciate these lessons, then I would not start insulting people in the comments box or being rude to anyone. Okay, let's all be nice, because what else is there to do? So, keep it in the family. Keep it in the family. This is a phrase we use a lot. We've got to keep it in the family, and this is to restrict something to one family. So usually I would say, if my mum tells me something about herself, maybe something's happened and it's shocking, or she tells me something about her past, she might say to me, Anna, can we just keep this in the family? That means she doesn't want anybody else to know, that only the people in the immediate family will know about it. This can also be used sometimes if I'm dating a man and we fall out and I dump him, and then I start dating his brother, then other people might comment and say, oh, she's keeping it in the family, meaning I'm staying within one family. I'm dating all the people in one family. Okay, so to keep it in the family. Oh, we got a question here from our patron chat room. Do you use the word siblings regularly? I do hear it a lot, actually. I personally talk about brothers and sisters, but I do hear siblings quite a lot, yes. So, you might talk about or hear about the black sheep of the family. He's the black sheep. He's the black sheep of the family. The black sheep of the family is normally an odd person who doesn't really fit in, a disreputable member of the family. Normally it's someone the family are a little bit embarrassed about. Maybe they've gone off the rails. Maybe they just don't fit in with the group, and they're maybe quite antisocial. And so when there's big family events, maybe they stick out, they stand out like a sore thumb, is what we say. They stand out like a sore thumb. And so they are the black sheep of the family. It's not always a nice way to describe somebody, because it means they don't fit in. Okay? So, then you have, someone might be described as a family man. He's a family man. We don't really have this saying for a woman. Just a man, and it's a man who's dedicated to his wife and children. Just going to be removing these bad comments. Sorry if you're seeing comments in the comments box. I'm trying to keep on top of it. Okay, so yes, a domestic man, a man who loves his family and devotes his time and effort to his family. He is a family man. Now you might also hear the phrase, blood is thicker than water. Blood is thicker than water. And this is a phrase to mean that family is more important than anybody else. So if I have to make a choice between letting down my mum or letting down my friend, and I don't know what to do. If I do this, then it helps my mum, but my friend will be let down. If I do this, then it helps my friend, but my mum will be let down. What do I do? Then someone would give me the quote, blood is thicker than water. Always prioritize your family over other people. Okay, so blood is thicker than water. That's what that one means. All right. Then we have mum's the word is the last one. Mum's the word. And this is usually a request or a warning to keep something a secret. So if I tell you something and I don't want anybody else to know, I'll usually end it with mum's the word, which means don't tell anybody. Mum's the word. Okay? So there we have it. That's today's lesson on family. So now is your chance to get your questions answered. So do you have any questions about anything that we've talked about? Or do you have any other questions or comments that you would like to add? Feel free to put it in the comments box now, and I'll spend a few minutes doing that. Before I go into the comments, I would just ask one more time that if you have found this helpful, then please do hit that subscribe button and the bell notification button. And also, if you can, give this video a thumb up, then it really helps me to grow this channel. That would be great. Okay, so what are you guys saying? You're the best, Anna. Thank you very much. Those idioms have their equivalents in all European languages. I'm sure they do. I'm late to the lesson, but I'm still happy. Good, I'm glad you're here. Some of you just getting in now. Don't forget, you can scroll back and watch the beginning. All the content is at the beginning of this video, so you can go back and start afresh. What does archbishop mean? An archbishop is a very high member in the clergy, a high member in the church. I'm not a huge authority on religion and the hierarchy of the church, but it's a member of the church, a high up member of the church. Do we call cousins, or do we use the word cousin for boys and girls? Yes, we do. So my female cousin, my male cousin, is all just cousin. Let me just close this door in case you can hear coughing. Hang on. Don't worry, I'm back. Okay, so a first cousin, a second cousin, and a third cousin. So this is where families become very, very complicated, and I don't think many natives even really understand it. But it's when you go further out in the family tree. So like if your cousins have children, I think those children become your second cousins, and if they have children, I think they're your third cousins. So it becomes very, very confusing, but we don't talk about that very often. Please could you provide us a name of a novel? If you look back on my video archive, of which there's nearly 200 videos here, nearly. If you look back in my video archive, about 4 weeks ago, I did a video on my top 10 recommendations for films and novels. So go and check that out, because you'll also find there the links to everything that I mention. And then a little description of everything that I go through as well. You're the perfect teacher, thank you very much. It's very kind. I'm very hot and bothered. What's the plural of cousin? Cousins. Cousins. I have 5 cousins. Okay. I would like to know about the brother-in-law, sister-in-law. So if your brother gets married, the woman he marries becomes your sister-in-law. So you have your brother and your brother gets married, she is your sister-in-law. If your sister gets married, the man she marries is your brother-in-law. Okay? Why is he always coughing? Because he's not very well, bless him. That's why, he's poorly. Someone, yes, I'm sorry about the coughing, can't be helped. Why do you say mum's the word? Could you explain it more? You just say mum's the word when you're saying keep it a secret. So I'm going to say, I ate all the biscuits. Mum's the word. That means I've just told you something and I don't want you to tell anybody else, okay? Shh. Does that make sense? It's not, I don't know what the origin is, but we don't need to worry about why. Just about what it is. What is a brother-in-law? We've covered that. What's the difference between uncle, cousins, and aunt? You need to scroll back and have a look. An uncle is male, An aunt is female, and cousins are the children of your... Oh, hang on, what are the cousins again? If you go back and look at the notes that we've gone through, then it'll all make sense. Otherwise, I'm going to get confused if I try to explain it all. Okay. Morton, please be careful with your comments or you're going to get blocked. You can't be insulting people in this chat room, okay? Okay, so guys, before I wrap up, because I am going to wrap up because I've got things to get on with this evening, I'm just going to let you know, tomorrow I move house. So for the next week, perhaps you might not see very much from me. I'm going to try my best. I might even come live tomorrow, it all really depends. But as I'm moving house, things will be a little bit disrupted. But come the end of July, then everything will be resumed as normal. You'll be getting live lessons every day, Monday through to Friday, as well as pre-recorded lessons. Please do take the time to look back through my old videos. I'm always being asked questions on things that I've already covered in previous lessons. So take some time to look at the stuff that's already out there. Do be patient. I will be back with you as soon as I've moved house, okay? If you are able to help this channel, then I would love for your help. All I'm asking for is for you to share this video with as many people as you can, people who know, who are learning English and you know would benefit. That would be really great. And also, if you're able to give me your language, I'm looking for people to do translations for me. If you've already done translations, thank you so much. And if you haven't done any translations and you think you could offer a translation into your language of any of my video titles, descriptions, or even subtitles, even if you think you're very good at English and you could provide English subtitles, because at the moment it's just automatic subtitles on most of them, then so many more people in the wider community. So that would be fantastic. All the links for contributions are in the description box below. And if you're interested in becoming a patron and supporting us in a bigger way, then you will also be rewarded. So if you're interested in rewards like joining the Skype room, getting access to early videos, having your messages always responded to, joining the WhatsApp group, all sorts of rewards, having all the notes, then check out the reward levels on the Patreon page. Link is in the description box below. All right, so thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate you being here with me. I need to go and have a cold shower because I'm absolutely melting. I hope you found that helpful. And do make sure you're subscribed, giving it a thumb up. Take care. If I don't see you tomorrow, have an amazing weekend. Lots of love from London. Mwah. Go and say I love you to your family. Take care. Goodbye.